Prepare yourself for a journey beyond the ordinary, where reality blurs with the unexplained, where folklore meets the enigmatic and unexplained. This is the Skinwalker Chronicles, tonight on Newsworthy. 2 words and 2 question marks.
He's alive! Have you checked the children? Get out!
You have scoured the podcast world and finally found us, Newsworthy with Steve and Jerry, where we delve into all things mysterious, macabre, or out of this world, and decide if they are truly newsworthy. 2 words and 2 question marks.
Why should you work with Ed Locke? A better question is, why wouldn't you work with him? He is proud to support an amazing lender, USA Mortgage.
When you work with them, you can expect a home financing experience that is free of hassles and headaches. They have complete control over your loan due to in-house operations such as processing, underwriting, closing, and funding.
USA Mortgage represents a lot of fantastic things, but they are especially thrilled to partner in several community outreach programs, including Habitat for Humanity, Home Sweet Home, Veterans Community Project, and many, many more. They love going to work every day, which means they love working for you. Ed wants to be your lender for life, so reach out to him today and get the journey started.
If you would like more information, please reach out to Ed Locke at area code 502-680-0953, NMLS 448908, USA Mortgage NMLS 227262. USA Mortgage is an equal housing lender. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions may apply. For licensing information, go to www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
Hello, gentlemen. It is
Hello.
late freaking
A little late,
Wednesday.
My wife is not happy, but it's okay.
No,
Come
she truly. Come on now, we love you.
She just
I'm
called
just kidding.
to see if Brett was almost home. He's like, no, we've
She
been
was
started.
She was cracking the whip, and I was like, "Not now, not now. Wait."
Yeah, I bet you were. I bet you were. We know how that works. Okay, full disclosure, guys. For this particular episode, I'm drinking Huber Wineries sweet blackberry wine.
You drank.
Cold, sweet red.
And before we came on air today, we got into a huge debate about how to solve all the problems of the world. And I have already drank an entire friggin' bottle of this.
Don't worry,
But the-
I have plenty of bourbon for him to drink.
But the good news is we did get through, 75-80% of the world's problems if we could only get the politicians to listen to it.
Maybe they'll subscribe to our Patreon.
Maybe.
Hey, the New York Times listens to this podcast. We've proven that, didn't we, Jay?
For news and advice on
Wine?
the correct wines to drink and how to drink them.
Absolutely.
Sweet red is the kind.
And cold is the
How-
way.
Cold is the way.
I disagree with the cold and the sweet red.
Well, I don't know how the hell you were here. Why are you here? Go away.
Have you ever had a cold sweet red?
I have, and I do not like sweet wines.
Well, maybe that's your problem.
That is his problem.
Got it.
Youth of the day. Gosh.
Youth
Youth.
of the day.
Listen, it's almost as bad, Jerry. Gosh. Did I tell you that I had a detective show up at my house today?
Detective? No, you did not.
Oh my gosh. He asked me where I was between 5 and 6.
Oh my goodness.
I said kindergarten.
Yeah.
Wasn't amused.
I actually did something for the first time this weekend.
Oh, you did.
So I actually milked a cow for the first time.
You milked the cow.
Yeah.
What did he have to say about that?
He actually ran away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. While I was milking the cow, he ran away. It was an utter disaster.
Yeah. I can imagine so. Yeah.
That joke would be so much less funny if I wasn't intoxicated.
Like most jokes would be most funny.
You know, Joe Rogan, he'll smoke a little smoke during the show. I drink a little drink. So, woo! Now I understand why he does what he does.
He'll
Did
do
you hear it
both.
was in the news the last week? Do you remember when Elon Musk was on his show?
Yeah.
And smoked pot with him?
Multiple times, yeah.
Did he smoke pot?
Oh, I said multiple times.
He only hit a joint once, I think. That cost his company millions and millions of dollars.
Really?
Because NASA found out about it. Huge no-no with the government.
So,
Because he had the contract. With
so I wonder
NASA.
if. So,
He and
whenever you think
every
about weed.
employee had to agree to additional drug testing, additional random drug testing
really?
for a couple of years.
So, if you're okay with. See, here's my thing: is if you're okay with alcohol, you shouldn't be okay with marijuana.
I agree.
This is that's my thing. Is that's my
What was the one we
stance
always
on it.
we always go back to? The guy in California that got out of prison.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was legal.
He sees the. He was in
There's a huge
prison for
billboard.
20 years for pot, and he comes out and there's a billboard.
You
can go buy it. You can
Home
go-
delivery
Home delivery.
on the billboard.
And then we give away what the who's that arms dealer we gave away to Russia for what's your face?
Yeah, I told a cool story about that on air. My good buddy Steph.
What was that? What was the arms dealer's name?
It was the Lord of War. I don't know. It was
the
the
super-
basis of that movie.
Oh gosh, what was the name?
I'll find it. Go ahead.
My
and
buddy
talk
Steph is the one that flew him from Baltimore prison to New York for that exchange.
Really?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
What was the Brittany Griner,
Oh yeah, for Brittany Griner. Yeah.
a basketball player,
Victor
women's basketball player? Like,
Ooh.
I'm not saying.
Victor
That's-
Bout.
Yeah. What was his name though? He was like a.
Victor Bout.
No. I meant like he had like a
The Lord of War.
like a freaking. He wasn't that. It was a crazy name.
I don't know. But
Merchant,
anyway,
Merchant of Death. Like we
Merchant of Death.
give the Merchant of Death back to Russia for Brittany Griner, who's making 25 points in the WNBA and nobody wants to. Oh, thanks, Biden. What a great decision.
Don't be insulting all of our women. We don't have enough. I'm going to have to tell my women's dad joke to get them back.
I'm not insulting women at all. I'm just saying this is what we traded the Merchant of Death
I don't
for
disagree with you
Brittany Griner.
listen. The cool, it was
Okay.
so bizarre when
Great
she told me
decision,
that
buddy.
story. She said that they wouldn't give his name or any of the names of the agents on board, and she's like,
That's really cool though.
she said, well, I have to have a name for my log. He said, well, I can't tell you, but if you watch the news tomorrow, you'll know. And she watched the news the next day and saw his picture, and she's like, holy,
The Merchant of Death.
yeah, flew on her personal jet.
We gave him back to Russia.
Okay, so
job.
tonight,
Let me do
guys-
my dad joke real quick.
Oh, you have a dad joke?
Yeah, I have a dad joke.
Oh, I thought you.
Brett will like this one.
Oh,
The sheepdog said to the farmer, "Here, you're 20 sheep." The farmer says, "But I only have 18. "I know," says the sheepdog. "I rounded them up."
oh,
Told you Brett would
I
like
saw that one tonight.
Oh, did you?
I saw that one today. I was looking through. I think we look on the same website for our dad jokes. God,
so
I
you
saw that.
have an entire week to prepare. It's not like we do this every day. We talked
Says-
about it.
okay, Steve is saying this, and he literally will be like 5 seconds from the episode starting and be like, "Wait, I gotta get my dad joke."
No. You're right. He does. But the reason he's got a problem with his joke, it's a math joke. He still hasn't got it, so he thinks there's no humor in it.
Oh man.
Math sucks.
Hey, whoa,
Oh.
math is awesome.
If you're not good at math, just round them up,
Yeah,
which is what the
Round
sheepdog
them
did.
I got it.
Round it up.
Hey, we have a new visitor on the podcast.
We
tonight.
do.
We've often had Ramona. We've often had my dog Edna or Sketty.
Yep.
Tonight,
Goose, a time or two.
we've had Goose a time or two. Cessna's joining us tonight. It's my other one-eyed cat. We have two one-eyed cats, and if you put both their eyes together, you have one cat.
I didn't realize that
one-eyed
cat was
cat
one-eyed.
She has two, but only one of them work. The other one
Really?
is-
I didn't
Look
know
at
that.
if
How
you
long
look,
have I known you, and how long have you had this cat? And I did.
if you look at her, you'll see the definite
One's
difference in
glassy.
her.
I
it's
see.
very
I see
glassy.
that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that.
We are the house of broken animals. What can I say? The only animal not broken is Ramona, and that's because we actually paid for her.
Yeah.
But crazy.
Sorry
So
to interrupt with my terrible dad joke.
no, that was
Please
a
go
terrible dad joke. But we've been going way so long,
Yes, we
guys, and we apologize for that. We enjoy what we do. We love doing the podcast. Tonight's episode is actually it was a requested episode. You know, somebody wanted us. If you want us to do an episode based on anything, where would they send an email to that, Jerry, to request a great episode?
They could send it to Newsworthy with Stephen Jerry at gmail.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you can text us. You can send us an email. We love new show ideas.
Absolutely.
And tonight's show is one of those. First of all, at the end of the show, don't forget to stick around for an awesome bonus story. Tonight's bonus story is probably one of my favorites we've done, so check that out.
It is a good one. Very good one.
Make sure you check that out. It is it's cool and it's funny. Check it out. And those are after we do a main, we talk about the main topic, we have a little ad break, and then we do the bonus story. So make sure you stick around, check that out. But we've got to stick to time this time. We've been going over and over and over and over, and so we're gonna put it to it tonight, gentlemen.
Fingers
we are.
crossed.
Fingers crossed. We're gonna try.
We'll
it
see.
Steve is on his second bottle of wine. Brett's chewing on some bourbon. Jerry is the only sane person about us. At
Jerry
the moment.
is the only sober person.
Diet Coke.
For sure.
Coke
Him and
Zero.
his Coke Zero. Is that stuff good?
I love it.
So,
See, here's the thing. Go ahead. Sorry, Brett.
no, you go ahead, Jerry. You go first, and I will go.
I haven't had a soda in probably at least 8 years.
It's good for you.
I'm the same way. So with
probably
me and
10.
Steve are the same way.
And my drink of choice back in the day was Dr. Pepper in a can, not in a bottle, not in a bottle.
And we
I liked it in a can because it was strong. It was like, "Rrr," I'm pretty sure that if I drank one today, it would turn my head inside out.
So you not even had a sip?
No, the
Oh,
worst,
wow.
the closest I've come is at some restaurants they'll have orange lava burst, which is high C. That's about as close to soda as I get. But they'll also have Fanta orange,
Yeah.
which has carbonation. That's
Right.
the difference between them, basically. And they'll give me the Fanta in replace of, and I'm
Right.
like, "Ugh," you
Yeah.
know.
So I'm kind of the same way. I remember I was in middle school when I stopped drinking soft drinks, and like now I will sip it. Like my wife loves Cokes from McDonald's, specifically from McDonald's. She'll go and buy a large Coke just from McDonald's, just because apparently it tastes better.
It does, and there's
Right.
scientific proof as to why.
Apparently they put like sugar in there. I actually went to school with a girl who owned a McDonald's, and she claimed that they got a special Coke just from McDonald's. I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure that's true or not, but
It would have to be if there's a difference.
she claimed that it was.
It has to do with the amount of carbonation versus, if you notice, you go to McDonald's, their straws are wider too. Okay, just notice that when you go to McDonald's. But the length of the line of the carbonation and the syrup
Yeah.
lines are very specific. They have to meet very specific criteria to be in a McDonald's. But go ahead.
So I'll take a couple sips of that, and I will get sick. So
Well,
anyways, the question I was going to pose is Coke Zero, zero sugar, but
zero carbs, zero sugar, zero.
it has artificial sweeteners, like stuff that's not sugar. Is that, you think that's better than regular sugar? Or
So,
I think I've told you at least part of this. I spent 25, 30 years drinking non-diet, the just regular Coke and Pepsi. And I was drinking 12 to 15 sodas per day. The majority of those being 20-ounce sodas. At work, I
Man.
had one in my pocket. I always wore
Dude,
loose
how many times
khaki
did I
pants.
say to get a 2 liter, and you're like, I can't put it in my pocket.
Yep. I wore loose khaki pants, and I had a 20-ounce soda in my pocket at all times.
Wow.
And I figured up the amount of sugar that I was getting, and it was a pound and a half of sugar per day. So if you're asking me, is this artificial sugar better than a pound and a half per day? There's zero doubt in my mind of where I got diabetes, and it's a wonder I didn't get it 20 years
But
ago.
I wonder what the artificial sweeteners do. Like I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you that you're getting less actual sugar, but like, is the artificial sweetener better than the sugar?
The definite answer to that is it may be. And the reason I say maybe is because some artificial sweeteners, like the one I use in my coffee, is a natural product. Stevia.
Stevia's good.
So
Stevia is a natural product. It's a sugar substitute, but it is 100% natural.
what is it made of? Do you know?
Stevia plant.
The stevia plant,
think.
which looks a lot like an agave plant, which makes me happy because that's what they make.
I asked this question not knowing. I'm not I don't have a position.
That's
on this.
why
I'm just
I like
asking.
it.
Yeah.
And it has zero aftertaste.
Yeah.
Whereas you get a sucralose or a Splenda or a
Splenda
Sweet
is what I was
Low or
thinking of,
whatever.
yeah.
Those are artificial.
Comes from the leaves of the stevia.
Back
Plant,
to the
also known as-
At least
question.
that's
Whatever.
so it's a
But that's
natural sweetener.
Let's enlighten our customer or our listener base, because you asked the question a minute ago, why does McDonald's Coke seem better? It all starts with the packaging. McDonald's Coke is not put in plastic containers. They're syrup. It's done.
I've heard this.
It's based in metal.
Yeah.
They send it in metal casings, so it comes out and it keeps it a lot fresher. And that is the main difference. That and the length of tubing, the amount of carbonation.
I thought it was only
very. No.
canisters.
If you go to any, and this goes back to when I was 16. They have boxes, and it's put in like a plastic bag, and you
Right.
just
Never
hook
worked in
up
a
the
restaurant,
bag.
never
Yeah, McDonald's is completely
Yeah.
different.
And McDonald's has that plastic bags replaced by metal cylinder that the Coke syrup is put in.
Which would kind of make sense, I guess.
Yeah, it just keeps it fresher.
Right.
Fresher longer, and you can taste the difference in fresher. I mean, if you taste fresh milk versus milk that's been in your fridge there's a difference.
Here's the problem I have with the soda, fountain soda from any restaurant. I love it for about 30 seconds. And then it starts to get watered down.
Oh, because
Well, it's because of the
quickly-
ice, yeah.
Exactly. But real quickly, for the first 30 seconds, I prefer it.
So, and a lot of people would say that, so McDonald's went from styrofoam cups to plastic cups. Like, the styrofoam is much more insulating so that the ice stays frozen longer, which would make the drink taste better longer,
Yeah.
which would increase the pleasure.
But why
of
not
it.
just get a can, put it in a...
Because if you go
Get
to a
it.
restaurant that's trying to give you a can of soda, you think that restaurant is
I'll
less.
take
I
my
hate cans. I hate
Yeti
cans.
in with me.
So have you ever? Okay, have either of you ever been in a manufacturing plant?
Of what?
Soda?
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
I used to work in one.
How dirty is it?
Nasty.
Well,
Okay, I want you to think of that can going through a manufacturing plant, probably getting shit on and pissed on like by rats and whatever else. Like I worked at Walmart. We used to get dog food with maggots full of it. We got to throw
are
this
you
out.
telling me... You're sitting here drinking
I'm
whiskey. Brett's a huge whiskey lover. Do you think the same
That's-
thing happens with your whiskey?
This is self-cleansing.
How do you even begin to argue?
Dude.
This is self-cleansing. Dude.
Listen, okay.
What are you talking about? There's no bacteria in this.
All right, I got to interrupt.
Question
I gotta
for the
interrupt.
listeners. Can you tell we've been drinking? That's my question.
All right, I got to interrupt. Again, tonight's show asked for and requested by a listener. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank
If
you very
you
much.
want, once again, before we get started, if you want to request an episode about whatever,
Let us know.
please let us know. Oh, sorry. I was going to tell you all about what the bonus story. I brought up the bonus story to say that I had a bonus story that I was going to use, but decided against using it in lieu of the one we used today. But
This one was so good, we wanted to include it,
I definitely wanted to bring it up real quick.
and here it is.
And I apologize for that. But I had asked the guys a few minutes before we went on air if they had ever heard of redefined meat. And they said,
No.
No.
yeah. So redefined meat is something that is no longer in my email. It is a I'll just have to go by my memory. I can't find it. We'll come back to. No, it's fine. We'll go ahead.
You know
Basically, it is. There are 110 restaurants throughout Germany and Europe that are using redefined meat. What is redefined meat, Steve? Well, I'll tell you. Redefined meat is 3D printed steaks.
No.
Oh my God.
That are made
No.
from the process of taking a few stem cells from beef cattle
No.
and producing with the amalgamation of, and I think that's a word, they add nutrition and everything, and that those stem cells produce a beef paste, which is then pushed through the 3D printer into steaks. Now, my question was, would you, if you go into a steakhouse and you
No.
have the opportunity to buy one of these type steaks, would you buy it?
Here's my answer. When Brett described how he thinks my Coke Zero came to be and some of the things that it has been exposed to, I thought that's one of the grossest sounding things in the world. I would happily drink a lot of the liquid that Brett described before I would have one of those steaks.
Wow.
No, thank you. I
So,
would have to say that's a hard no.
So I went to school for engineering. One of my first semester, I took a manufacturing of engineering class, and one of the first things we learned about was 3D modeling, 3D printing, and one of the things we learned about was they had learned to 3D print a bladder.
wow.
Yeah.
Really?
So yeah, right, and so they had used these bladders that they had 3D printed by using a film, an inkjet printer. The doctor used an inkjet printer and used it. They would print cell by cell this bladder, and the people who they had put the bladder in would have been living for 10 plus years at this point.
So let me read this article to you and see if it sounds like the same. I found the article. And this is written by Brooke Betcher, I'm sorry, and it was produced August 9th, 2023. It says, "Welcome to the future. A factory in the Netherlands 3D prints," and this is crazy, 500 tons of steaks per month. The Redefined Meat Company will supply German restaurants with printed fillets. So this is good cuts of meat, fillets. Approximately 110 German restaurants are already buying the meat, and I'm using air quotes, from Redefined Meat. To begin the 3D printed meat process, scientists biopsy a batch of sample animal stem cells depending on the type of desired meat: beef, pork, poultry, even fish. So it's not just steaks. These cells then undergo in vitro proliferation process, bathing them in a nutrient-dense serum with climate-controlled bioreactor. So this is all very technical, and I apologize. Over the course of the next several weeks, these cells multiply, interact, and differentiate into the fat and or muscle cells that make up the bio-ink. Then, a robotic arm uses that ink to dispense the paste-like cultured meat filament in fine layers atop one of another. The arm follows the instructions of an uploaded digital file using computer-aided design or CAD software in order to replicate the correct shape, structure of the intended meat. 3D printed meat material must be viscous, yet firm enough to reproduce a structural model complete with accurate tissue vascularization, depending on the type and the cut of the meat.
What country was this?
It's being produced in the Netherlands for Germany.
And people don't notice the difference?
500 tons per month.
So here's my thing:
So-
I'm not saying this is we're getting into a Star Trek, like where we have those.
I have an Earl Grey tea, please.
Like it's like computer, give me a steak.
Right.
Like, that's what we're getting into. Really, I mean, it's,
500 tons. So it's not only
we're able to
If you-
replicate tissue of that significant. I mean, we're able to replicate a steak. That we're getting into
Listen.
to some sci-fi stuff.
I love my dad, and I'm going to throw him under the bus here. In 1980, my dad had a terrible, terrible car accident. He wrapped his car around the tree doing like 120 miles an hour. In order to,
No, you're gonna like it.
in order to fix his arm, to get skin, this is before skin grafts. They had to
Oh wow!
So, just to show you where we've come in 30 years, they had to sew his arm into his stomach so that his stomach, the skin would grow back over his arm, and then cut it back out and tie it all together. And now we're producing 500 tons of steak from a couple of cells.
Like I
It's
said,
insane.
we've created bladders with 3D printing.
Yeah.
So
The last I heard, I thought this was like a gray, mushy
yeah.
type crap grown in petri dishes. Wagyu. Am I
Yeah.
pronouncing that correct?
Yeah,
Wagyu.
Wagyu steak.
Take a look, gentlemen.
That looks just
I
like
would
a
eat that.
Yeah,
would
that's
eat-
what it is.
I would eat that. I can't tell the difference.
Isn't that
I
crazy?
I mean, I could tell a little
3D
difference, but
printed beef, and here is scientists create first 3D printed Wagyu beef.
But
And I'm
here's the
telling
thing:
you
is
what,
like
it looks awesome.
if we can,
And it
print-
didn't have bones, so I'd probably try
right?
it.
If we, yeah, if Steve had it well done. If it was burnt,
If you
Yeah,
can cook
so
it well
crisp.
done, I'm
if it was
good.
burnt, crispy, and really chewy, Steve would try it. But anyways, if we can print
I cannot
organs
believe
that go into your body that
Yeah,
actually provide a purpose, this is not that much further.
I
from
have
that.
heard that they believe that within the next 100 years or so, I think, they believe that the majority of the world will not be able to afford anything but this for beef. I had always thought that, and I've read that several years ago. With the increase of beef in the last 3 years during COVID, I don't know that I disagree.
So
with
I
it.
wonder what because I'm sure that the technology for this is
What do you want?
somewhat expensive. I'm wondering what the cost per pound of 3D printed beef
See what I can find.
versus,
Average
regular
cost
grown
of 3D
beef
printed beef. What would you say the average for just regular beef?
per pound.
Yeah, per pound. Just that. Obviously, there's a
So
huge
it's
difference
a problem
between
because
hamburger and
I'm thinking I obviously can only afford mostly ground beef, so it's usually like $3 to $4 a pound. I would say.
for ground beef.
Ground
That's
beef.
probably, if you're talking 80% lean,
Right,
that's sale price at Kroger.
$3 to $4 a pound
$3.99 is the sale price. It's on sale this week at Kroger
for $4 a pound.
for $3.99 a pound for 80%.
So
ground
okay, let's
beef.
just say $4 a pound is which is not steak. It's not steak. So I wonder what the price difference is because I would think the 3D printed beef would be more expensive, but maybe
Here,
not.
according to this company, this one, it's Redefined Meat, the one he's talking about, sells its products for around $34 per pound. Again,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sure that that's not just ground beef. It's probably steaks, everything, which
Well,
is still substantially
what-
above what it is.
So
here.
I don't buy steaks enough to know, but what would the
A good sale price would be $10 a pound in today's money for a decent
steak?
steak.
Okay.
$10 a pound. Regular price, 13,
like a ribeye?
14. Regular
fillet?
price for ribeye would be $14.99. Filet would be $20 a pound.
Okay.
Okay, so and we're talking how much per pound?
34 per pound, according to this.
And now that's overseas.
And this is 3D
So,
printed.
That's
We're
3D
we're
printed.
we're talking
Right,
Germany, which is always
They don't have cattle.
right. It's a lot more in
They
over
don't
there.
have
And they also haven't brought this up to scale. Scale will bring the price down dramatically.
Sure.
As
What
far
do
as
you
cost.
mean?
When you're doing it, that
mass
sounds
produce.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
when you're
Yeah.
looking at
You're
a
selling
I mean,
percentage-
that sounds like you're mass producing it.
well, 500, yeah.
That's restaurants. So restaurants can afford to pay more because they're charging you more per steak because they're cooking and taking care. But anyway,
Anyways, this is a
I hate to cut us off on our steaks,
This
but
is a good conversation.
We sat here and swear we're going to do better on time, and we're 40 minutes in, and we haven't even touched our
we
subject.
do have a listener requested
Yes, we do.
topic today. We need to get into it, and we need to dedicate enough time to make sure we cover it.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to cover skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers.
Now, this is not to be confused with Skinwalker Ranch, which is completely different. Did either of you guys find Skinwalker Ranch
I did.
come up
yeah.
in your message?
And actually, my wife asked me if she was like, hey, are you going to talk about Skinwalker Ranch? I was
Skinwalker Ranch is a entirely different scenario.
like, entirely different episode, really.
It really is. And I have an episode in mind in the future for alien-based places. We actually have a place very close to us that we want to check out. It's in Wilmore, Kentucky, where there is a place that even the fire and police department isn't allowed to go without a federal escort.
Wow.
And the escort...
Wilbur?
Huh?
Wilbur?
In Wilmore, yeah.
Wow.
So...
Where is it?
That's close.
we're going to talk about that in a future episode. I'm going to hold that close to the vest until I get more information. But Skinwalker Ranch is going to be very similar to that. We're going to talk about weird places that the government knocked off the list. Tonight, it's all about skinwalkers. Brett, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on with skinwalkers?
Yeah, so
So we can get into the topic. I don't mean to cut you off. I know we can talk about steak the rest
we
of the night.
can talk about steak a long time.
Also, the second bottle of wine. So
Yeah.
look at me being aggressive and assertive with two bottles of wine. Woohoo!
I'm technically on my second bottle of bourbon, but I didn't have very much in the first bottle.
I was going to say, Brett, you're staying the night.
So, so skinwalkers. So throughout history, there were a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. The biggest culture that had talked about these skinwalkers were the Navajo. They called them Yi Naldushi. Maybe butchering that translation.
I think
but
you're totally butchering that translation.
Yi Naldushi. That it translates to "with it, he goes on all fours." So they represent the antithesis of the Navajo cultural values. So the Navajo had so-called medicine men who utilized these powers to heal and aid members of their communities. At the same time, those who would practice Navajo witchcraft seek to direct the spiritual forces to cause them harm or misfortune to others. So this is something that has been in Navajo history, Navajo culture, throughout history. This type of Navajo witchcraft is known as the witchery way, which uses human corpses in various ways, such as tools from the bones and concoctions that are used to curse, harm, or kill intended victims.
So, do you think that this was actual Navajo law? Now, I know the answer to this. This is one of those things. Or if I'm a Navajo and all these white men are moving in on my turf,
So,
can I use this to scare them?
and this is so here's the problem is so the Navajo, and it's something I had looked up in my research, but the surrounding areas of the Navajo, they all have similar stories of some sort of witch that can transform into an animal, and they don't all call them the same thing, but they're basically all skinwalkers in this case. And so, one thing that I was going to talk about that I can kind of already bring up.
Could I add one thing to his question?
No, go ahead, yeah.
Everything that I read says that they're not allowed to discuss this, and they do not discuss it with outside people.
Right.
So my answer would be absolutely not. This is not a scare tactic to run people away.
Well, here's the problem. That's the exact problem is that if you look up skinwalkers on Wikipedia, you get 2 paragraphs of information, and that's it.
Yeah, you have to dig for this.
You have to dig, and it's because the Navajo very rarely share these stories with outsiders, and even more rarely with those who they have to make sure that they trust these people.
They also believe that it's possible to almost create by talking about.
Right.
Right.
So you can, if you talk about this particular evil too much, you're helping bring it back to you.
And that kind of leads to
Which is why we're on a strict time level here. I do not want this all up in my house.
right. So the Navajo are part of a larger culture area that also includes the Pueblo people, the Apache, the Hopi, and the Ute. There are also other groups that have their own visions of skinwalkers, but each being a witch that can transform into animals. As I just said, witches are seen as evil in these cultures, performing harmful ceremonies, manipulative magic, and a perversion of the good works medicine people traditionally perform. So, again, in these cultures, medicine people have learned the good and the evil. So they usually know the good magic and the bad magic in their culture. Traditional healers are said to be people who are they're opposite of witches. So the witches are those who have seen to be corrupt. As Jerry was saying, they're reluctant to reveal skinwalker lore to non-Navajos or to discuss it at all among those that are not trusted. To become a skinwalker, he or she must be initiated by a secret society that requires the evilest of deeds. The killing of a close family member is most often a sibling. So that's usually in tradition of the Navajo Indians. That is the condition of becoming a skinwalker. After completing this task, the individual acquires supernatural powers, which gives them the ability to shapeshift into animals. So, skinwalkers are often seen as coyotes, wolves, foxes, cougars, dogs, and bears.
Not the things you see on movies and TV.
Right. Right.
Just there's that one video, and Jerry brought it up earlier when we were talking about this, that every once in a while you'll see on Facebook, I caught this on my trail cam, and it's a picture from a movie that is obvious.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, right. What's the movie that you...
Xtro, X-T-R-O.
Yeah, was it from like 1983? It was a British movie.
Xtro is the 1983 British science
1983.
fiction
Okay.
horror film. Yes.
Brett.
I remember numbers.
Good job.
Yeah, right. So yeah, you look up in my research, there was this story from 2014 where a person had gone viral from posting this picture from this movie, and it obviously they had found, oh well, it's this movie that nobody's seen.
So is this the basis of lycanthropy, or for better words, werewolfism, or did that come first? Do you know?
I don't know personally. I don't know if Jerry...
I don't either, but this goes way back with Navajos. So I don't know which one come first, but I would almost guarantee you the Navajos did not hear people describing and talking about werewolves and turn it into something of their own. Because at that point in time, they had very little dealings with the rest of the world. Because this would at least go back to the very, very beginnings of America.
And it wasn't just the Navajo. It was
Yes.
all the surrounding areas of the Navajo.
similar.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And I say that because I'm a very big believer that people of the time drew on caves and they saw.
There's
what
some
they
truth
saw.
to everything.
You know, when we see cave drawings of people with helmets and what we would consider what would look like an alien or an astronaut today, it's hard not to say, you know, I'm of the mindset that they drew what they saw.
Right.
So why would they not believe in what they saw?
Yeah.
It's such a different world back then that, you know, even if they can't put words to what they saw, like, you know, we talk about some of the pictures. We do a lot of alien stuff on this channel. But if we talk about the paintings where they drew things in the background that we're like, wait, why would they draw something in the air? Because they didn't
I would
have
disagree a
airplanes
little
or-
bit. And here's what I mean.
Of course
I think
you
they
would.
also drew things that they thought about and considered, not just things they saw.
Right.
But where it gets really, where I begin
That's a
to believe
good
with
point.
you totally is, okay, when I'm in this cave and 1,000 miles away, I'm in this cave and 1,000 miles away, I'm in
Right.
this cave,
And
and
then
they
we all see the
look
same
the
thing.
same.
Yeah.
Then I have to go, wait a minute. That's more than just something.
The
they believe.
coolest thing, and I'm going to get a little off topic, and I apologize. But when we talk, I love South America. I go there, I've been there several times. And to see the Aztec ruins, and we talk about pyramids and how they have pyramids there and whole villages that are wrapped around the pyramids. And then we use LiDAR, and under the jungle, you know, the LiDAR penetrates all that vegetation. It penetrates all the moss and everything that's grown up. And regardless of whether we can see it, the LiDAR can see it. And there are entire stone cities that are laid out. It just blows me away.
Sure.
It blows me away.
No, I agree. 100% agree.
But yeah, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. Yeah. So
Back to the Navajo.
back to the Navajo. And so they so these skinwalkers, they choose what animal they want to turn into. So depending on the abilities needed for a particular task, such as speed, strength, endurance, stealth, claws, teeth, etc., they may transform again if trying to escape from pursuers. Because of this, the Navajo consider it taboo for its members to wear the pelt of any predatory animal. However, sheepskin, leather, and buckskin are acceptable. The skinwalkers can also take possession of the bodies of human victims if the person locks eyes with them. After taking control, the witch can make its victims do and say things that they would not otherwise. Those who have talked of their encounters with these evil beings describe several ways to know a skinwalker is near. So some of the things they describe is they make sounds around their homes, such as knocking on windows, banging walls, and scraping noises on the roof. On some occasions, they have been spied peering through windows. More often, they appear in front of vehicles in hopes of causing a serious accident. It is also said that in addition to being able to shapeshift, the skinwalker can also control the creatures of the night, such as wolves and owls, and make them do their bidding. Some can call up the spirits of the dead and reanimate the corpses to attack their enemies. Because of this, the Indians rarely ventured out alone. Skinwalkers and other witches have long been blamed for unexpected struggles and tragedies, including sickness, drought, poor crops, and sudden deaths. Even smaller or individual problems such as windstorms during dances, alienation of affection by mates, the death of livestock, and reversal of fortune were often believed to be a witch's work. This was most apparent with the Navajo witch purge of 1878, which initially evolved from a cultural response to so many people moving across and into their lands. After a series of wars with the U.S. Army, the Navajo were expelled from the land and forced to march to the Bosque Redondo, which is now Fort Sumner, in New Mexico, in what was known as the Long Walk of the Navajo in 1864. There the people suffered from bad water, failed crops, illness, and death, reducing their numbers dramatically. After 4 years, the government finally admitted that they had made a mistake, and the Navajo were allowed to return to their homeland in Four Corners area. During these years, many of the tribe's members were said to have turned to shapeshifting to escape the terrible conditions. In the meantime, the rest of the tribe was convinced that their gods had deserted them. Once the people had returned to their homeland, their conditions improved, but the dreaded skinwalkers, whom they had feared for all these years, they blamed for their years on the bleak reservation, and they were still among them. Accusations of witchcraft and the hunting of skinwalkers began. When someone found a collection of witch artifacts, the skinwalkers that were wrapped in a copy of the Treaty of 1868, the tribal members unleashed deadly consequences. The Navajo witch purge occurred in 1878, in which 40 suspected Navajo witches were killed to restore harmony and balance to the tribe.
Was that by us, by the government, or was that by the Navajo?
I mean, both, really. I mean, it's so the things that the government had did to the Navajo had kind of provoked the Navajo to have this Navajo witch purge, which, again, 40 people had died. So I can't. So we talked about the Salem witch trials on this podcast. I cannot remember how many witches died or supposed people died, but this 40 people that had died to this witch trial. It seems like a lot.
It does.
And I can't remember exactly how many had died in the Salem witch trials, but I want to say it was very similar.
I don't think it's far off. I think you're right.
Jerry's gonna look at that up, but
So here's my question. First of all, the long walk for the Navajo.
Very sad.
Very sad. Very much different. Very similar to the Trail of Tears. We pushed, and I say we pushed. We, the government of the United States, did what the government of the United States should do with Manifest Destiny, and we pushed these people to the very brink. We reduced we put them in the land that was untenable and unsettleable for white and European settlers. Now, that being said, the push out west, I watched a video today, and the government of the United States was advertising all over Eastern Europe, come to America, we'll give you free land. Well, we didn't tell those people from Germany, from Italy, from the place you went, Ireland.
yeah.
We didn't tell them, we're going to send you out west, and you can have 100 or 200 or 500 acres. However, there's probably some people already there that think that's their land. And
Yeah,
we certainly
that's a
didn't tell them that until they got here and they're about to make the trek, do you need a gun? Well, what do I need a gun for? I'm going out there to settle my new home. Yeah, but there's already people there.
Yeah, if anybody's ever seen Yellowstone,
I have not watched Yellowstone.
oh my gosh.
Is it that
It's a
good?
phenomenal show, and it's
One of the best series I've ever saw.
okay, good. Yeah, because it's a great series. It kind of deals with that whole, is it my land? Is it your land? Is it, whose land does this belong to? And it does a really good job of it. Anybody that is interested in this type of topic definitely should go watch Yellowstone. I think they have a couple of different spin-off series, 1898 or
And then 1923.
1923 with Harrison Ford. Anyways,
1888.
1888, that's what it was.
And it's not Harrison Ford. It's
1923 is Harrison Ford.
yeah. 1888 is with
uh,
the beef guy.
Oh gosh, damn.
Travis and his
No,
wife.
no.
The beef guy.
Oh
What's
my-
for dinner? Beef.
No. Oh my gosh. What is his name?
Anywho,
No, this is Brendan Bob.
the whole point is,
Right.
and we already discussed that they're not
Tim McGraw. Tim McGraw. I was
Yeah,
saying
Faith
Tim.
Hill.
I was saying
His
Tim. I
wife.
was like, man.
Faith
Tim
Hill?
McGraw and Faith Hill.
Oh yeah, I forgot because
They're the
when they got married, she stopped calling me, so I've lost it.
Dang. Oh.
They're the stars of 1883.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And along with Sam Elliott.
It's okay. Taylor Swift stopped calling
Yes,
me
Sam
as soon as her and Travis Kelce started dating. So
Me and
It
Sam
happens.
Elliott. Me and Sam Elliott used to
Sam
hang out all the
Elliott, that's who I was thinking
time.
of.
He used to. Oh man.
So here's the thing.
Roadhouse.
Isn't this a lot very similar to... And I don't want to step on your toes here, Brett. I apologize.
No, you're good.
The Catholic Church for a lot of years...
Ooh, all right. You're stepping on
I
toes.
don't know the analogy.
The Catholic Church for a lot of years denied and or refused to talk about exorcisms, demonic possession.
Really? Okay.
Isn't this similar? Demonic possession of the Navajo.
What were
They
you-
wouldn't talk about it. It was taboo to have this happen to you, even though if the main difference is in demonic possession, the demon comes upon you. In this, you call upon the demon to take over you.
So, man,
I have no
we
idea
gotta
the
save.
answer
We
to
gotta
that,
save this. We gotta save this as the Bible study podcast. But
Brett
So-
does have hold on one second. Brett does have a good joke to tell us about reverse exorcism.
oh, no,
no.
we do not have a good joke.
Okay, maybe
So
later.
I just want to say, what other faith is doing exorcisms right now? That's all I wanted to say. I just want
None
to leave
that I
it
know
at that.
of.
Drop the mic. Boom. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else have?
Seriously,
anything?
I don't even
Because
know
I
of
have
any
I-
other religion that attempts to.
If you have a demonic possession suspected, who are you gonna call?
Who you gonna call?
You're gonna call a priest.
Ghostbusters.
You're gonna call a priest or a bishop.
Well, I think that here's what I'm saying. I just feel like there is evil.
No, 100%. And the Bible talks about it.
Particular. It doesn't matter what race you are, what creed you are, what religion
You have
you
some
are,
sort
what
of evil.
There
Yeah.
is evil in this world.
Yep.
And in some of the things that, in order to become a skinwalker, even according to the Navajo, is pretty damn evil.
Yep.
First of all, you have to sometimes, in some situations, dig up the graves and consume the ash from the corpse of the person you wish to take over or influence their life. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of demonic.
No, there's a ton of demonic things tied to the skinwalkers, and so one thing I wanted to bring up, just because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan.
Oh, please. Yeah, this is interesting.
Everybody who's anybody has read Harry Potter.
No, that's not exactly true.
Okay, Steve has not
You
read Harry
are
Potter.
in the minority here. when it comes to-
Minority. Oh my god. Yeah, it's only the biggest series. It's the biggest book that's sold other than the Bible.
Yes, but
It is second
in
to
our
the Bible.
defense, he and I are a little old to be reading Harry Potter books when they come out.
You're
Dude,
crazy.
even
Okay.
the movies, I can't get past freaking Quidditch. How boring is that?
Okay. Anyways. Okay. I'm
Literally
gonna
wanna fall
disregard.
asleep.
So please, I apologize for all that they're saying. Anyways, Harry Potter. It's a great series. It's a phenomenal series. J.K. Rowling is the top 1% of authors of all time.
Sure.
Yeah, and unquestionable. Anyways. So,
What did you have to say about it?
J.K. Rowling included skinwalkers, which she calls animagus. So, in the Harry Potter series, animagus are wizards or witches that can turn into animals. So she was talking about these in Harry Potter and was recently criticized for a post on a website called Pottermore, which is where she kind of dives into the Harry Potter universe. She'll kind of give updates of where the Harry Potter universe is at this time, like who's Minister of Magic, what the U.S. School of Witchcraft and Wizardry looks like, what the African School of Witchcraft. She kind of dives into the Harry Potter universe here. So this is Pottermore. So on Pottermore, she wrote, "The legend of the Native American Skinwalker, an evil witch or wizard that can transform into an animal at will, has its basis in fact. A legend grew up around the Native American animagi, which is what she calls the animagus. That's the wizards or witches that can turn into animals. That they had sacrificed close family members to gain their powers of transformation. In fact, the majority of animagi assumed animal forms to escape persecution or to hunt for the tribe. Such derogatory rumors often originated with no magi. It's another form of like muggles or people who don't have magical abilities. Medicine men, who were sometimes faking magical powers themselves and fearful of exposure." So basically, she in this fictional universe, she was saying that, this legend of Skinwalker that evolved from the Native American, culture was actually, something that, these people were just trying to get away from persecution or to try and add to the tribe, rather than the Navajo tradition where these people are evil. So J.K. Rowling actually got a lot of slack for this, and she's gotten a lot of slack for a lot of things. She's been called a lot of things. I'm of the opinion that J.K. Rowling is still very progressive in her thinking, and I think that she has done a lot for women's rights. I think that she's done a lot for even homosexual rights. And I'm not saying anything negative against her. I'm just saying this is what she said. She got a lot of slack for it. What do you guys think? So she was.
I have a lot of respect for her. You have to, for one of the most renowned published authors in the world. Whether we were
Well-
talking a week or so ago, I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan. Still have a ton of respect for her. When you have that kind of success and you're able to put on tour after tour after tour as she has and come back with the kind of numbers she has, you have to have a ton of respect for her, even though I'm not a huge fan of her.
And you're talking about the she has the highest selling series of all time, and this is the highest selling book series of all time, other than the Bible. She is second to the Bible. That is like a huge accomplishment.
Sure, absolutely.
And-
It deserves a ton of respect.
Here's the thing. When she gets to be on newsworthy with 2 words and 2 question marks numbers, then we'll talk about being
That's a different
successful.
level of
That's
success
a whole
right there.
different level.
Oh yeah.
I went to Scotland. Me and my wife. We had a Harry Potter wedding. I'm just gonna. I have bias.
Now the
I have
truth comes
bias. Me and my wife. We had a Harry Potter wedding. Harry Potter reception. I won't say a wedding. We had a Harry Potter reception, and we went to England, Scotland, and Ireland for a honeymoon. One of the places we went on in Scotland was this hotel that she had supposedly wrote part of the Deathly Hallows, which is her last book in the series. The hotel room that she wrote that, I think she had signed some sort of wall or some sort of pillar or something. You could walk in the hotel and she had like signed a pillar. I know that for a fact. But the hotel room itself was rented out for like 3 years, sold out for 3 years. And I want to say that the hotel room was like $3,500 a night. It was like ridiculous. This is one of the places we got to visit.
Because somebody had slept there?
Basically, J.K. Rowling had wrote part of the Deathly Hallows in that room, and it's sold out for like 3 years
Listen, as reported last week,
for thousands of dollars.
the hotel that The Shining was about just sold for $475 million. So there's a fool born every day.
The Skinwalker Ranch is something we definitely need to talk about at some point.
Yeah,
but-
absolutely. But listen, here's the thing, and J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, she took a lot of grief for that. But was she wrong? I mean, she brought it to the attention of the people.
Which you're wrong about what?
Was she wrong to use it the way she used it?
So the
I
problem
don't think
is
so.
the problem is,
At all.
and what people are
talking
this the fact that she brought the Native American culture, which she's trying to make her universe feel real. Which, I don't. If you're okay with the witchcraft part of it, which has been a part of many cultures, to make the Skinwalkers feel somewhat real in this universe, we have an actual Skinwalker legend from the Navajo Indians.
Yeah.
Why would you not?
Here's
Why
the
would
thing.
you not use that?
So Jerry and I talk all the time, and I like to donate money. I don't have a lot of money, but the money I like to donate, I like to make sure that it's going to the
right
cause, not to the people promoting and or the upper management of the cause. And one of the causes, there's two schools. One's in North Dakota, one's in Montana. They're both Indian schools that I donate to because most of the money, like 90%, goes to the students. We've done these people as a government, not as an individual. Me and you and Jerry, we've done nothing to the Indian people. But as a government in the past, we've done these people so wrong.
Yeah.
And they have the highest alcoholism rates. They have the highest suicide rates. They have the highest uneducated rates.
Yep.
They have the highest in America. They don't have clean drinking water. That's terrible.
Absolutely.
If I live in those conditions of squalor, of not being able to have clean drinking water, clean bathing water, if I look around me and all I see is alcoholic men because they have no jobs, we give each person on these reservations a stipend, and they don't have to do anything. So they drink it up, they drug it up, they do whatever to pass the time. I kind of dig into the legends, if you will.
Yeah.
And I try to pull that out. And the whole point of that is if we can bring awareness to this, even through friggin' Harry Potter, I think that's a good thing.
Well,
Absolutely.
and that's the question: is like, is it bringing good publicity to the Indians, or is it not? And I think, like you were saying, I think it's just bringing publicity to the Indians, whether or not it's good or bad. And the Yellowstone, I'm going to bring up this again, is a good. They do a really good job of like, is it unbiased? Like, these people on the reservation are struggling. Like, so have you Jerry, have you seen it since the recent season? I've not seen the newest
I've seen
season.
every bit of it.
You've seen every bit of it?
Yes.
So, you've seen the newest
Of Yellowstone. No, I haven't saw 1888.
Right, that's what I'm talking about,
Yes,
Yellowstone.
I've seen that.
I think Yellowstone does a really good job
They
of,
do.
like... So, the main character, I can't remember his name, Kevin Costner's character, he owns his
The postman.
thousands of acres of
The
ranches.
Dutton Ranch.
Yeah, so he like he's the main character, but then you also get the Native American side, which I think they do a really good job of like saying, you know, John Dutton has a point, but the Native Americans also have a point. Like you
They
don't
also
really
show the hardships, I think,
Right.
in many ways of
they show the drugs, they
Yes.
show the
the crime, the
the
unemployment.
suicides, the
lack
unemployment,
of
the
opportunities.
poverty. Like they show all that.
Sounds like I need to watch this show.
It's a really,
That's
really
good.
good show.
True.
Really well done. What's the dude's name? Taylor. Oh shoot!
What did he play?
He didn't play anything. He came up with the show.
Sheridan?
Taylor Sheridan. Taylor Sheridan.
Yes.
Yep. Taylor Sheridan did a great job with this show,
Totally.
and I'm really upset that it's come to an end. It seems like, there's a lot of different factors that are coming into.
People got greedy.
Yeah. But anyways, if you haven't, that being said, if you haven't seen Yellowstone, definitely watch it. I think this is a really interesting topic because it comes from a Native American background, and it's
Wow.
it's agreed it's not just the Navajo, but all the surrounding tribes around it have very
something
similar,
similar.
very similar stories.
So let's take a step back away from Yellowstone. So if you're the Navajo, the Hopi,
Right.
and many of the other Indian nations around, and by nation, I think it's very hard for people today to understand that these were actual nations of people. We've put them on these little reservations, and you're over there, you're somebody else, you're your own problem.
We took out their food source, buffalo.
Yeah, intentionally.
And look where we put them. Middle of a friggin' desert, like you said,
Right.
untenable. We didn't want this land. That's why we gave it to them.
Right. It was the only land that we didn't want.
Where were you
And-
at?
This is
It's just desolate.
the Navajo Reservation. Right in the middle of it is the Hopi Reservation.
So, I'm asking, like, what state is this? Is this Nevada?
This is Utah, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico.
Okay, so,
So
right in the
half of
middle the
Nevada's
desert.
already gone because we're dropping nukes out there testing them.
Yeah.
But, this is areas of our country, and these are people in our country that are not, that are just Jerry and I, before we switched formats, used to talk about the common person just wants to raise their family. They just want an opportunity to
Right.
have a job, to provide for their family, and have their kids have a better life than they had. To provide a better life.
Right.
And for
We
these
as-
people, we've created an environment where that's almost impossible.
Not almost. It is impossible. There is zero, unless you own the one little store / restaurant / clothing store / drugstore / general store.
Well,
You have, or the bar. You
you're a
have
young
no
person,
opportunity
you're
to
gonna
make
have
money.
to leave the reservation, get an
Absolutely.
education.
Right.
That's your
And
only
that,
hope.
I'm telling you,
And
Yellowstone
then you
does
have
a
to deal
great
with-
job of doing this.
It does.
Like, it does a great job of saying the reservation life is terrible.
Yep.
Terrible. But it also gives the protagonist is John Dutton, by no question, and he's the one who owns this huge ranch. It does a really good job of saying,
Listen,
John Dutton may be right in he owns his land, but
Even-
also the way we treat the people on the reservation is not right.
even today, and I've never watched Yellowstone, but even today, or I will say 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, the land out west, the laws are still very skewed to the large landowner. Here's an example. I moved out to Idaho to open. Yeah, I lived in Idaho for a while. We opened a brand new store in Salmon, Idaho. The nearest airport, commercial airport to Salmon, Idaho is in Missoula, Montana. It's right over the mountain range. In order to get from Missoula to Salmon, it was over the Bitterroots. You had to come across the Bitterroot Mountains. And there were several large landowners in between the two. Okay, so all of that land is either federal land or ranch land. They don't use, here in Kentucky, a 28-acre farm is a pretty big farm. That's plenty to raise tobacco and to have a living.
Right.
Out there, we're talking 28,000-acre farms, right? And so they don't use fences out there. They use ear tags, or now I'm sure it's GPS tracking for their cattle or whatever.
Right.
But out there, the cattle have the right of way. The goats have the right, whatever the crop, and I'm using air quotes, has the right of way.
Right.
So in order to open our store, our head officials flew into Montana and were 4 hours late to the store opening because if you hit or hurt the crop product, in this case it was cows, that's overnight. I mean, there's signs everywhere. If you kill a cow, you owe the farmer for the cow, and that's jail time.
Yeah. This is exactly the scenario that Yellowstone presents.
And we're talking...
Yeah, you definitely need to watch it.
We're talking... They were 4 hours late to our grand opening.
Yeah.
Because
that's
there were cattle in the road and they couldn't get them to move. Beeping the horn or whatever.
What store is this?
I used to work for a company called Alco. It's now gone. It was sold from the company I worked for to Shopco. Shopco sold to Costco, and Costco got rid of it.
Look at Costco, man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, back in the day.
Thriving, man.
And basically, that was a cool company. They sent me all over the Midwest. It was a very small store, very small areas.
I didn't realize
There were many Walmarts, is what they were.
Yeah.
Many Walmarts. If Walmart came to town, we usually closed the door and left.
Look at Dollar General right
Yeah.
now. There's
Well,
freaking 4 Dollar General in Harrodsburg.
It was a Dollar General before a Dollar General.
Yeah.
basically.
Well, it was a big, fancy Dollar General.
It was very big. We sold clothing, nice clothing. We sold name brand stuff.
Well,
It
Costco
was-
is, I think.
But when Walmart
That's
came to
what I
town, we bounced out. So,
Yeah,
but it
it's
was
like the
fun.
same.
It was very similar. It was such a learning experience to be out west.
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
So, what do we think about skinwalkers? Just to be blunt,
Do you want to talk about the Miami incident, or?
I do. We're at an hour and 5 minutes now, so
Okay. Yeah.
we'll talk about it briefly. But first, we got to cover skinwalkers. Is skinwalker something we need to cover more or less of, Jerry?
Before that, if I could add one thing.
You can add whatever you'd like, Jerry. Your name's on the tab.
Literally.
There's an author named Tony Hillerman. He grew up with Navajo children. He went to school with them, became an author, and he writes primarily about Navajos. One of his books is called Skinwalkers, and believe it or not, it's about skinwalkers. In it, he has, in the preface for the book, he's talking about skinwalkers and the Navajo tradition and where it came from and all that. And he had this to say: some people have a dark wind and they tend to be evil. How do you tell? People who have more money than they need and they aren't helping their kinfolk? That's one symptom of it. When I read that, I thought, holy crap. Apparently, most of America's skinwalkers.
Right.
Just to give a different perspective. Do I think more or less? I don't know. I could find zero evidence of skinwalkers being more than myths. So it's hard for me to say yes. But it wouldn't take much to get me there.
This is one of the topics that we've covered that it was very, 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 very hard to find a good, legitimate sighting of a skinwalker. I'm not saying that the Navajo culture is a
Made it up.
right.
They don't
I'm
want
not
to
saying-
talk about it.
I'm
They
not-
don't want to talk
Right.
about
I'm not saying that but there was very little evidence. It was very hard to research this topic to see. Hey, this was a definite sighting, kind of like the Area 51 stuff, the Roswell stuff. There's a lot of evidence that points to, hey, this might have happened. This is the one that, yes, the Navajo culture, the culture surrounding it, they have a good evidence for this, but in today's culture, we have not had any evidence. In my opinion, we have not had any evidence for this, and that being just Google search skinwalkers sightings. I'm gonna give it a thumbs down.
Thumbs
Mr.
down
Steve.
for Brett. So, 2 cruises ago, I didn't even know what a skinwalker was.
it. Okay.
However, there was this TV show that came on the cruise ship that I got absolutely stupid hooked on. And I do mean stupid in every sense of the word. Called Mountain Monsters. If you've never watched this show, please check it out. If you're part of Mountain Monsters, please send us an email so we can get you on the program. Their whole antithesis was skinwalkers all over the United States. They didn't even attribute it to just the Navajo regions. They attributed it to all Indian nations. But I have to fall in line with Brett and you, Jerry. It was so difficult to find actual proof. And it is so... When we talk about and here's the way I break it down for me personally. When we break it down into things that we have vocabulary to describe, I just can't see that being a real thing.
I'm not saying. And here's the thing: I'm not saying it's real or not real or anything like. I'm just saying there is. If you Google search it, there's not evidence for it, and that's the thing that kind of strikes me, because even UFOs, just like this sighting, this sighting, this sighting,
ton
this
of
sighting,
people,
this sighting, this sighting.
Videos.
Tons of
There's
sightings.
tons of different evidence out there for
It's
UFOs.
It's not there for skinwalkers.
No.
It's not.
Unless you watch Mountain Monsters, which everything is a skinwalker type deal. And
Or if you happen to watch the news in Miami a few days ago, I think Steve's going to tell us more about that.
so we can't
Yeah,
go
please do.
this show based on all things mysterious, macabre, and out
Sure.
of this world if we
With nothing
can't
but
talk
facts.
about what happened in Miami on the first of the year.
Yes.
Okay, so the official police story, and I'm using air quotes, is that a bunch of kids in the Miami Mall, the Baymont Center Mall, started fighting each other with sticks, threw some
A
firecrackers
bunch
down,
of fireworks.
a bunch of fireworks, and it elicited a response of every single uniformed police officer in the city of Miami.
In their
There are-
defense, unknown fireworks sounds like what?
Gunshots.
Gunshot.
Gunfire
Granted.
at a local mall
Granted.
will
Yeah, right. 100%.
cause every cop in the area to show up.
I'm talking every sheriff,
But they did.
every
Literally
SWAT,
everything.
every
Helicopter,
police officer, every helicopter,
they were there.
every single uniformed on or off
They
duty
should
police
be.
officer was at the mall.
They think there's a fire.
So-
firearm.
There's a couple of things here. Okay.
I can't believe I hadn't heard of this.
Huh?
I hadn't heard of this.
Okay, so there's a couple of things here. First of all, let's take There was a video, and I'm using air quotes, of a alien walking back and forth at the
Well,
mall.
some call him an alien, some call him what?
A shadow.
No, that's what the police said. Some call him a skinwalker.
Some called him a skinwalker. There were several testimonials that came out on TikTok that said, and I'm using TikTok as a reference, okay, guys? This is, I'm just
But
bringing
literally,
it up.
that's where it got popular. Was
It
TikTok.
really was. That some of the witnesses inside said they heard the shots or they heard the firecrackers, which is not an uncommon occurrence in the big city of Miami, I'm afraid. So they come out, they were walking gingerly, they saw the direction of the way people were going, they decided to go the opposite direction. Then they happened to look back and see what the police, and this is, okay, so this is where conjecture starts. So the witnesses' statements on several accounts show or say that when they were leaving the building, they saw the police going into the building. That's what police are supposed to do. When everybody's running one way, the police run the other way. And that's what they were doing. However, according to eyewitness statements, the police were shooting in one direction, okay? And when they looked back to see which direction the police were shooting, they saw shadows. And the shadows would go away, they would come back, and they'd be closer. When they did, they looked very alien-like. That was on at least 2 different TikTok accounts. Those TikTok accounts have since recanted and changed their story to what most people think were either actual visits by U.S. government officials or perceived U.S. government officials. But the bottom line is, if you watch the video, and you can pull this up on any website, YouTube, whatever, the police presence in that mall area does not warrant a bunch of kids with sticks and some firecrackers. I'm sorry, it just does not.
But that's not what the calls that came in said either.
Agreed.
And
Right,
defense.
if I'm in the mall and there are fireworks going off and I'm like, it sounds like gunshots, I'm calling the cops.
Right.
I'm-
I don't disagree with
Hey.
any of that.
My kids are in this mall, like, hey, there's gunshots going on.
I don't disagree with
No,
that.
yeah.
There were some rumors that the airspace over Miami had been shut down. I did look that up. I looked at an OTAM that was not,
Didn't happen.
that did not happen. It did happen on January 2nd, but that was because of a radar glitch. It had nothing to do with, and it wasn't that they shut airspace down. They just shut down runway access, which is a little different. Basically, they're not letting planes go up in the air without being able to track them, and that glitch was successfully.
What was that
fixed.
reason? What was the reason for that glitch?
It was a technical glitch. It happens a lot,
Really?
believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, what happens as a pilot, you learn that an OTAM will tell you if I'm flying to Cincinnati.
Right.
If Cincinnati has a technical issue, they're not going to let me land. They're not going to put me into their air. They're controlled, and I'm using air quotes. They're controlled airspace because once you go into controlled airspace, you are supposed to be where they tell you, when they tell you.
So, when planes take off, do they have the gas? Do they have extra gas to be like,
Absolutely.
if we're gonna land
Absolutely.
in an area that
Some.
is
They
not
have-
gonna allow me to land?
So okay, fuel's the most expensive part of a flight.
Right.
Okay. So when a plane takes off, it has enough fuel to get to where it's going plus X number of miles or X
So
number
it
of
already
minutes.
has an extra amount.
Right. So if I fly out of Colorado and I'm heading to Cincinnati,
Yeah.
and I'm in my jet, and I'm flying, and I'm Mike, and I'm in Delta.
Right.
Oops.
We need to.
And I'm flying, right? And Cincinnati says, hey, we got a technical glitch. Our radars are down. We cannot allow you in our airspace. You have enough fuel to divert safely. Make sense? Or to hover around to get put in a holding
So when you
pattern.
say divert, you mean divert
nearby
to another
Yes.
airport?
Yes, either divert to another airport or to go into a holding
Wow, so you have a
pattern.
lot more fuel then.
Yeah. And they do that. That's safety. They don't
That's across country? That's every flight?
every flight. Every
You
single
wouldn't be
flight.
allowed to.
You will never be in a flight that requires you, say, to go from Cincinnati to Anchorage, Alaska, and that's taking every single bit of your fuel.
That's
You'll
good knowledge.
Never,
That's good knowledge.
You
I
will
mean-
never be in that situation.
So everybody who's afraid of flying.
You will never be in that
Yeah.
situation. You will divert. You will stop. A lot of when you see these when you log and you buy a flight and it has a layover. The layover is so they can check the plane and fuel the plane.
Right.
Gentlemen, sorry to interrupt. I
No,
know
you're
we're
good.
way over time. Could I add one more thing?
Absolutely,
Connected with
Jerry.
flying.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mike, we love you. For those who don't know, Mr. Mike is one of our old listeners.
Old
Speaking
school
of-
OG.
Yeah, he's one of the OGs. He absolutely is.
I am drinking from a Mike bought club. Newsworthy glass
Wine
right
glass, courtesy of Mr. Mike. Mr. Mike has done this for a long time. We know it. We try to keep it on the down low. We don't want him to get in trouble. He's a pilot with one of the major airlines in not only the United States, but the world.
Right.
But what a lot of people don't know, unless you've listened to us for a long time, is that Mr. Mike loves us so much that he has, for a long time, borrowed, quote unquote, one of the company jets, and he flies to countries and lands there just so that he can download one of our episodes from this country. If you look up Newsworthy and the number of countries that we've been downloaded and listened to, there are many. It just come to our attention the other day. We've added another country, China. Mr. Mike, we love you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, but please do not risk getting caught. We don't want you to. We appreciate it. We love you for doing it, but please don't go to China.
China's a long way.
That's a long
We
I don't know how
picked up-
much fuel
listen,
you cost.
we not only picked up China, he stopped at Pakistan and Korea this year.
What's the one country apparently he's been to many times?
Oh, Slovakia.
Slovakia.
One of the top countries for
Listen,
downloads.
guys, I just want to say we have a huge following in Slovakia.
We
Please
don't know
email us and tell us why.
Please, if you're in Slovakia right now and you're listening to Newsworthy, shoot us an email at
Newsworthy with Stephen Jerry at gmail.com.
And that goes for any of these countries that are
Yeah.
China. What
We-
was the can you go back to
Israel.
This is
We've
page,
we've
The,
listened to
what's,
so
what's,
many.
the, what's the next page?
here's page 1.
Then I
Canada,
want to see the
Netherlands,
next page.
Australia. Okay, page 2.
We don't talk about numbers a lot anymore.
Korea,
here on
Taiwan, Mexico,
All courtesy of Mr.
Finland, Germany, South
We-
Africa, Thailand, India, Spain. If you
Listen,
listen
Thank
to
you,
any of
Mr.
those,
we don't get into numbers anymore because it's, you guys don't care. It's something that we just find amazing. If you live in one of these countries, please email
please.
us.
Especially Slovakia.
Let us know. Tell us what you want to listen to. If you have a
Seriously.
local legend in your country that you want us to talk about on Newsworthy, let us know what it is. A lot of these local legends are really difficult for us to find. We dig every week to find new and exciting and different stuff to talk about.
And we read every email. We read every
We
email.
absolutely read every email between the three of us. And we want to talk about your local thing. Is it Bigfoot? Is it Yeti? Is it the Slovakian river monster? You tell us what it is. We'll do the research. We'll present it. And we will give your country proper credit. Proper credit. Please reach out to us. So, real quick, thumbs down for Brett, thumbs down for Jerry, thumbs down for Steve on Skinwalkers. Tune in next week for an amazing show. We're already working and prepping for that. Jerry's already out. He doesn't get it. He doesn't care. But we are working, Brett and I, who are, we're working hard to carry Jerry into the next
Tough job.
episode. We
Tough job,
appreciate
but you got to do a good job of it.
Again, thank you guys so much for everything that you do and for listening and hanging out with us. Words can't express how much we appreciate that.
Man, that episode is really interesting. And if you'll stick around for us for just a few commercials, we have another great story to tell you.
Hi, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. When it comes to buying a home, the process can be overwhelming and confusing. With so many options, it can be hard to know where to start. That's why it's important to work with a certified mortgage loan originator. I have the knowledge and expertise to guide you through the process and find the best mortgage option for you. I will work with you every step of the way to ensure that you are getting the best deal possible. So if you're looking to purchase or refinance, please reach out to me at 502-680-0953. So don't take on the stress of buying a home alone. Work with me and I will make your dream a reality. Trust the professionals and make your home buying experience a positive one. MLS ID 448908, DAS Acquisition Company, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, MLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is equal housing opportunity.
If you want us to review or rate your product on air, if you have suggestions for new episodes, awesome ghost stories, or anything else, please reach out to us. Our email address is newsworthyWithSteveandJerry@gmail.com. Our text number is area code 540-709-1318.
And now, back to the story.
Standing around 3 foot tall, green skin, long ears, long arms, large eyes, and a wide mouth. Inhabiting the Mammoth Cave system of right here in western Kentucky. Special powers of highly intelligent and very mischievous. These are the evolved features of the Kentucky Goblin. The Kentucky Goblins are a mischievous bunch. 3 foot tall, green in color, large eyes, sometimes frightening facial expressions. The goblins are said to have large ears and wide mouths. The arms and legs are long, especially considering their torsos are quite small. There are differing beliefs on where the creatures come from. Some say they're extraterrestrial visitors, aliens that have come to Kentucky on numerous occasions throughout the 20th and 21st century to hassle local farmers. Others believe the goblins, with their large eyes and ears, could only have evolved from thousands of years of spent living in the subterranean dwellings like Mammoth Cave National Park. No matter the origin of Kentucky's Little Green Men, the witnesses who have come forward over the years have all shared one thing in common. They were terrified of the creatures. Though the creatures were small, they seemed highly intelligent and intent on mischief. So, if you're in Kentucky, grab a reservation because you'll need it, and then go to Mammoth Cave National Park and see if you can see your very own Kentucky Goblin.
And Jerry, if you can't see the light,
Be the light.